Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Blindspot as well as the latest episode of the Blacklist. Like always, I'm going to talk about something you want to listen to. You can always look in the description down below. I include a time when I start talking about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you want to hear what I say about this week's episode of Blindspot, you can skip what I say about this week's episode of the Blacklist. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is this week's episode of Blindspot. A lot of interesting things picking up with Madeline, trying to hurry up and get that plane crash. I do love that Boston was making small talk about her decorations and stuff like that, and Tasha just looking at him and shaking her head like, no, just almost kind of like, shut up, Boston. But the fact of the matter is, I love the twist of being like, okay, so what's going to happen here? Like, because later on, when the FBI does show up to her office and everything, and Rich comments on something, and she's like, you're the second person that did it. I was like, and she looks suspicious. I'm like, oh no! I was like, she's figuring it out. But what really sets it off is Del Toro shows up. I'm like, yo! That's the real kick in the teeth. Home dude didn't believe Tasha when he was like, oh yeah, like I guess if she had flavored the story up a little bit, maybe he would have made it a little bit more believable. I did like the fact is that Madeline still was willing to give Tasha a chance. It's like, okay, I need to find out what kind of liar is she working with a cop's liar, or is she just covering her ass because she knows I'd be pissed if she failed liar, and that would determine how she would have handled it. I wonder would she have been more forgiving to Tasha. I mean, Tasha had done so much for her at that point in time, but still, that was kind of interesting. Also, it turned out that the target this entire time was Air Force One, because that's what the Bradley Dynamics device that they're messing with is inside, which is interesting because that comes back to the thing too. It's like, this isn't just about some like contract. It's like you try to bring down Air Force One. So it's like, what was your main reasoning for doing that? Like, what is it that Madeline's going for? I mean, she went from just being kind of like a villain to like super villain level just like that. I mean, she, like I said, like it just seemed like, I don't know what your plans are. I think she said something like Helios or something. I was like, what the hell is that? Like, I guess not unless she's trying to sell something to like a highest bidder or something like that. I have no idea. What's really interesting though is that White's is on Air Force One because Stephanie had brought him up there, that lady, because she was basically being like, oh yeah, so you've done all this work, Matthew, you're great and everything. Oh, you should get in the private sector and stuff like that. It's like, what's going on with that private security and stuff like that? She's like, oh yeah, basically your career ends here. To basically we're firing you. It's like, what? Basically, when he helped take down God, I'm blinking on it. They said it in the episode, but that whole thing with like all those corrupt people that he was kind of connected to. It's like, yeah. That was a large contributor to like the president and stuff like that. So it just kind of trickled down of like, the way he also handles a lot of stuff too, kind of goes about things a little bit sleazy too. So it's that, and he kind of gets fired. And then when the team's trying to call him and everything, he's like, well, don't tell me anything secretive because I just got fired as the FBI director. And they're like, what the hell? What? Okay. I'm surprised no one's like, what the hell did you do? I'm surprised no comment like that came out. But I also love like, when it's all said and done, he technically saves the day and stuff like that. Stephanie's like, wait, did you just save the plane? He's like, no, actually, it's more my team. Well, anyone in my position would, the courage and just the BS that is flowing out of his mouth. It's like, I love you because you're such a slimy opportunist. And he's even using this as an opportunity to be like, I mean, you don't want to be the person who fired the guy that saved Air Force One. And she's like, the FBI is lucky to have you. He's like, as you said, luck has nothing to do with it. It's like, hey, guys, we're still alive. I'm like, I love him so much. Like I said, I can't stress it enough. I hated him when he first popped up and he was blackmailing Tasha. I hate him, and he was always a scumbag every time he showed up, but now he's kind of with the good guys and he's slimy, but he's slimy in good ways. You're like, yeah, you gotta get giddy for him. I love it. So there's that. There's a whole Boston and Tasha thing. I love that this episode kind of brought them a little closer together, them just kind of joking and stuff, because it's like, oh yeah, oh, you want to work with the FBI? You're going to be working with your ex? It's like, nah, I'm going to replace him, and they're laughing and joking about it. I also love when the FBI was talking to the pilot and everyone kept bouncing around. She's like, okay, how many people are actually there? Let me talk to one person at a time. It's like, yeah, because Kurt's jumping in, and so is Jane, and so is, what's that dude's name? Garrett or something. I also love that Whites was screaming. He's like, Patterson, do your thing, do your thing, do your thing, because the plane was crashing down and stuff like that. I love it. It was a little scary at one point in time because I wasn't for sure if Tasha was going to make it, because with everything kind of being set up like that, I'm like, especially her telling Boston like, yo, if I don't make it through this, tell Reed, and he's like, I know, and it's like, geez, because I love it's being like, Tasha's like, no, you go, Boston. The fact is you have someone out there you care about, and she's like, that cares about you, and he's like, you do too. He's like, probably. She's like, I literally don't have time to make this like a therapy session. There's literally no time for you to make this into like a therapy session for me. Which is sad because, I mean, when it's all said and done, like, you see it in the episode too, like, Reed does care about her no matter, you know, what she's done, what she's kind of gotten up to. The fact is he still cares, so. But also like Boston, you know, and the whole Reed situation. I also love when it was all said and done, like, I thought something suspicious was about to go down because it's like, oh, Kurt and Jane is like, oh, let's get some time away, and they're going in and out, just being all cute and adorable. I think just because this episode is taking place after Valentine's Day, maybe that's why, but it's like, it's all gushy, and I mean, to be fair, it's kind of like, hey, not only did it get Jane back, but they've also cured her because the zip is completely removed from her system and everything, so... It's kind of interesting considering, like, the zip was killing her and stuff like that, but it's also, like, at that point in time, all her memories had been restored anyway, so even with all that zip in her system, it had no longer effect. It's interesting because I feel like maybe they pointed it out, but I think that's so fascinating because it's like, oh yeah, look, even with all that zip in her system, her memories were fully intact now. So, I mean, she was actually remembering more and more each and every day, but nevertheless. But I love they had this get together and stuff, like they were planning this trip and it's like, oh, flat tire, wait, there's no tire in the back. I'm like, wait, is this about to be like some separate adventure or something like that? I was like, oh, something crazy's about to happen. I was like, oh, this whole thing's like a setup or something. Someone's trying to trap you something, because it's like, it just doesn't happen to have a extra tire, and the fact of the matter is, you know, you can't get any signal. But I guess if that were going to be the case, of course there'd be probably a little bit more setup to it. You probably would have seen them ordering the car. Maybe when they were driving away, someone was calling someone on the phone. It's like, yeah, they may. It was like, who would target them specifically? That's the point. I don't know, but that's why I kept getting the feeling. And then they're walking, and he's just like, yeah, it's almost like a horror movie. I'm like, okay, waiting for it, and it never came. It's like, hey, we're right here to the spot. Yeah, we showed up. Just when they get there, the FBI show is like, yeah, you gotta come back. You know, some stuff went down, and it's like, ooh, so close yet so far. And it's like, like that ended up just being that. I thought there was gonna be a lot more to it, but I think, like I said, them being all cute, lovable, and adorable, I think that's simply just because I feel like it ties into the fact is of everything that's going down, but it just happenstance that the episode also airs the day after Valentine's Day. That might, like I said, that could be 100% me just reading too much into it. So, but I do like Jane making a whole point of like, you know, we don't have to kind of go anywhere special or anything. It's like, as long as we're here together, that's all that matters. And just like, stop being so damn in love. It's cute and adorable. I use that word too much when it comes to romance and stuff like that. Just those are kind of my catchphrases, cute and adorable. But nevertheless, when it was all said and done, the building does come crashing down. Luckily, Tasha was able to get out in time. I was like, oh, okay, good. Ooh, I thought they were going to make that a little more ambiguous than it was, but it's like, no, Tasha just pops up, and I love that Boston hugs her and everything. And she's just kind of like, okay. And then, you know, Rich is like, hey, okay, come here, come on, let's hug. And he hugs Reed. It's like, the people we care about are back and stuff like that. And everyone's kind of smiling and happy of just like how things have played out. So it's actually kind of interesting because it's like, it seems so, like, I'm curious. Like, I'm going back to what the whole Madeline situation, because like she had set it all up so that all this stuff would, you know, about like these falsified reports from Bradley Dynamics would leak. Because at first I was like, oh, Bradley Dynamics is up to this shady stuff, so it's like that's how they're exploiting these weaknesses. And it's like, no, these weaknesses don't exist. It's just the fact that she's making up all these false reports so that when it's all said and done, Bradley Dynamics takes a hit. So it is about getting the contract, but maybe the contract was just what they needed to kind of get access to what the contract would have allowed them to kind of get access to. But also maybe it would have given them the capital to do what Madeline wants to do, you know? I mean, what about HCI Global? I mean, to be fair, like, Madeline's kind of kept her hands clean of everything. The FBI doesn't really have anything to go after her for. So why would they need to, why would she have to, you know, worry about her position or anything being jeopardized in that regard? But it's just kind of interesting. It's almost like the HCI Global situation is kind of like a side thing, and it's just kind of like, yeah, like I said, let me be over here doing my supervillain thing. So it's like, I'm curious to see where that all ends up taking itself. But we do have Tasha deciding not to come back. She's actually going to Zurich because she wants to prove that, like, Reed can trust her. I think when it's all said and done, I mean, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But I think Reed will change his mind, and when it's all said and done, he will brain, like, because I think no matter even if he says that, he said that all because he was hurt. It's not just his best friend, it's someone that he developed feelings for and he felt used and lied to. It's like, we're so close, yet you decided to do this on your own. You should have come to me. Once again, it's Keaton's fault, but I guess, it's also on Tasha for not turning it down and just relying on the team. It's like, we're a family and everything. You did this. So, but for her, it's like, this will be my chance to prove what side I am on once and for all. It seems like she gets what she needs to in Zurich, but not before she gets attacked. So Madeline must have been on the lookout because, like, for, like, Tasha to be fair, it's not like she probably just landed. She'd probably been in Zurich for a while getting what she needed, which also begs the question, is Madeline in Zurich? Because that's what she was kind of surmising as well, but we'll see. At least it was kind of like a hands-in-hand thing, because I was worried like someone's just going to pop up behind Tasha and put her down. I was like, that would suck. At the very least, shoot her. Not necessarily put her down, but maybe shoot her and leave her. I don't know. Then there's also the Boston situation. He's earned his freedom and everything, so he's not, he can kind of work with the FBI. The offer's there, but he's decided like, I'm just going to kind of work on me and enjoy my freedom now and stuff like that. I love when he walks in and meets with Remy, because this is Jane, because this his first time meeting with Jane subsequently since the whole Remy situation. She's like, Remy. And he's like, oh, no. She's like, I'm Jane again. And he's like, oh, okay. She's like, and I'm still sorry and everything about what happened. And he's like, and we're just kind of like, okay with this. Like, everything's good again. It's like, yeah, and then Richard's like, yeah, that was days ago, which I'm like, was that really days ago? Or was that him just exaggerating? I feel like that's got to be him exaggerating. So he's like, yeah, Boston kind of like, yeah, I guess we are cool and everything. It was just such a funny reaction to me. But another interesting development that steps up is that Shepard leaves another. Because at first I was like, how did this happen? But then I was like, right. It was set up as kind of like a wheel thing. If anything ever happened to her, it'd be sent to Jane. But it's like, she never mentioned it to Remy or anything like that, interestingly enough. But it's another puzzle, because why not? Of course. So what else is Shepard hiding? It makes you wonder, like, is this its own thing, or could this potentially be connected to like a Madeline thing? Because it looks like something that would be a tattoo, but it looks all jangled up. I mean, it hits the whole puzzle aspect, so it looks like a tattoo but jumbled up. So I'm curious to see like what Shepard was keeping from Jane. Why? That's the thing. Like, how in advance did she do this? It had to be before she was locked up. I mean, to be fair, not unless I guess she talked to a lawyer or something like that. With her being locked up in a CIA black sites and stuff like that, I feel like you would have the opportunity to do something, because like that type of situation is usually kind of like you're meant to be buried and disappear, no one know where you are type of situation, that type of thing. So I feel like it probably had to have been done way in advance. Was it meant for Jane? Was it meant for Remy? I'd assume it was meant for Jane, but maybe it's also, maybe it'll do something. Maybe it'll trigger something in her Remy memories as well. I don't know. Also, I'm just thinking about it. I forgot to talk about this too. When they were walking, Jane was like, "Oh yeah, Kim, like, we get to there. Like, can we light a candle for Roman?" And he had Kurt being like, yeah, sure." And it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of an awkward thing, just because it's like you had him being like, "Oh no, I get it. That's your brother and everything," but it still doesn't change the fact that your brother was kind of an evil asshole to a certain extent. But Jane kind of brings it up. It's like, well, it's because if it wasn't for Roman, with his research, the caches, the sales, she wouldn't be alive right now. So it's like, it's all thanks to Roman, so that is more to pay tribute in that regard. But also it's like, she understands that her brother became the way he did because of many different circumstances. It's just, he would have been a different person given the right opportunities and stuff like that. We even saw with the zip poison, he had his own issues just because those scars weren't that easy. They didn't, they can't be completely healed. So, but we saw what kind of person he was with the zip in his system. So, but I'm very interested to see where all of this takes us going forward into the next episode. Like I said, I think Madeline, and she even said it, like they won the battle, but they haven't won the war. And it's like, that can only mean Madeline is really going to start ramping stuff up. But I'm very interested to see what she's got planned, what's going to happen with Tasha and everything like that. Part of me thinks like Reed's going to go to Zurich to help out, or maybe the entire team will, at least a few people from the team. Like I said, we'll have to wait and see. And now moving on to this week's episode of the Blacklist. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, like we got like our blacklister in this episode is kind of like the modern day, you know, essentially General Shiro. That was kind of interesting that Liz did kind of give a history lesson and stuff like that. You know, for the first time I actually thought about it, stuff like that. I'm like, all the stuff she gathers up and stuff like that, is that her or is that Haram who does that? I assume that's her. Like, does like, because I'm like, I guess she gathers all the information and kind of puts it in a presentation for everyone. I don't know why. It's like, I don't think I ever thought about that till now. I don't know what made me think. I guess because she did do such a like deep dive. Because even Samara was like, is this a history lesson or is this like a blacklister type of thing? And it's like, a little bit of both, you know? So I just thought that was kind of interesting. But this is a very interesting blacklister, this whole, I mean, because it's like, basically this is all about like pesticide, because there's one called hexaben that basically is going to be a very powerful strain, but it wasn't really like allowed, but a lot of like, it was going to ultimately be what this is all about. And so basically one of the people, I don't know, it's just kind of interesting that that's what this is all about, because even the dude who ultimately was behind everything, for him it was like a way to give bugs a chance to fight back, because he didn't want to end up being known as their destroyer. He wants to be known as their saviors. And it's like, oh, these people, they weren't my victims, they were my experiments. The fact is that he needed to test these out, because he had to make it so that, I mean, hell, they should normally not survive in a human body, but they do, and it takes like a week for them to hatch and everything. And it's just like the grossest thing ever, especially with the first dude. It's like, poor guy, and it's like the moment they were taken to the doctor, I was like, they're gonna cut him open, they're gonna fly on, aren't they? They slice open his neck and they start crawling out, and made my skin crawl. I was like, no, those things are gross, dude. Even at the end where like Samara and Aram had to watch that dude die, he even experimented on himself. But it seems like that was just kind of like a small, like, it's interesting, like, it's such an isolated thing to the point, like, because I guess he himself wasn't important, at least to Reddington's whole plan, which I even love Liz being like, you still won't let me in on anything. And he's like, well, the fact of the matter is you are helping, whether you know, a lot more than you realize, but the fact of the matter is, like, you know, someone close to him betrayed him, so he's, I don't know, he's closing ranks. And I mean, to be fair, he never told Liz a lot to begin with, but I guess nowadays he's telling her even less, you know, so this is connected to helping him. You know, even he's at least admitting that much up front, but not telling how and what the real purpose behind all of this is. I'm surprised we didn't see it come up in this episode, but maybe we'll see it pop up later on as Wrestler and Liz, like that whole conversation. Maybe he's giving her space and her time to kind of get the chance to explain things. So, but I love that. Obviously, the big part of this is Reddington, like they're doing jury selection and stuff like that, and Reddington's got like a list of like 300 plus questions. And I even love that Seema's like, okay, honestly, some of these questions are a little ridiculous. It's kind of like, basically one was about literature, and he's just like, well, I need to know what kind of person, you know, what kind of taste in literature, even their favorite composer. And then it's like, I forgot that whole conversation, but even the judge fed into it. I love that the judge, it's kind of like, I don't know what you'd call her, but it's like they got this little back and forth. I'm like, she plays into this. Is no one else noticing that she's playing into that? Because Reddington makes a reference to like a composer or something. He's just like, oh, just if they're into that person. And then she's like, my mom recently passed, and that was played at her funeral. And Reddington's like, my condolences for your loss. But it's like, why would you even I guess because, yeah, it's personal to you and everything, but why would you even bring that information up to be like, no, like, that composer is good because that was played at my mother's funeral. Like, it just, like I said, it's like her and Reddington have this back and forth. Like, I think on some level, she kind of likes Reddington. It makes you wonder in the end, like, I don't know, if that judge, there's more to that judge than meets the eye. Maybe she is just kind of like a straight up judge, and it's just like, for whatever reason, she likes the theatrics of Reddington. Like I said, it seems like she gives him a little credit and leeway for a lot of stuff that he does. Obviously, she shuts him down on a lot of stuff, like even being like, at the end of the day, you get 40 questions, no essays, they have to be short and sweet. And he's like, okay. So it's just something like that. I think it's just so interesting. And I love that his last Hail Mary was to go to Glenn because they need to set up this whole thing, trying to pick jurors. I love that whole thing about puppies too. That lady who likes pugs, and Reddington just kind of talking a little shit about pugs, and then, you know, I'm curious to see that lady going forward because I feel like she might. I don't know. It's definitely gonna be interesting. The jury selection was very interesting because Reddington's obviously trying to get at the very least one person on his side. More people would be helpful, but he needed at least one golden person to be on his side to potentially sway the rest. Glenn's supposed to be handling that, so him and Dembe putting to work and stuff like that. And I love it. And he's like, Glenn's like, we could just leave him. And Dembe's like, leave who? He's like, Reddington, you have access to his money. Let's just go. We can split it 50-50, 60-40, whatever you deem is worthy. Like, the fact of the matter is we can pretend like, hey, we tried and just take the money and go. And then Dembe's looking at him like, and Glenn's like, just messing with you. You should have looked at your face and stuff like that. Because we both know he'd kill us anyway. I love that that's Glenn. I'm like, why you have to be such a piece of crap? And he's like, I'm just kidding. You want something? But seriously, think about it. No, I'm just playing. No, but seriously, you probably should think about it. And he walks away. I'm like, what is your deal, Glenn? And then lo and behold, who's the jury he selects? Himself. And he shows up and everything. You have Reddington looking like, why the hell are you here, Glenn? And Glenn's up there talking and running his mouth off and everything. And then I love that Reddington's like, okay, yes, he's annoying and never listens to what he's told. And it's just like he's, pretending like he's talking to him in general, but it's like he's talking in general to the court, but he's directly aiming it at Glenn because Glenn's doing something that's stupid. But it's like, oh wow, Glenn gets selected and everything, and then Glenn's like, oh yeah, the judge, you're a tall drink of water. I was like, oh Glenn, just stop. Because I love that basically Reddington had torn him apart, being like, oh, he's annoying and this and that, and just kind of basically talk mad shit about Glenn, and I love it. But Glenn, kind of being pissed and upset, ran his damn mouth. It's like he'd never been in jury. He'd never been picked for anything, really, so he kind of got too overzealous. And it's like, oh, you're tall drink of water, better than the other judges. I was like, whoa, I thought you said you never were in select for jury before. He's like, no, I wasn't. Like, basically, he was in court before another judge. And it's like, wait, you're convicted felon? Yeah, you're not. You can't be on a jury. So... And then you had Reddington trying to plead his case to stay, but it's like, nope, didn't work. Glenn screwed over Reddington with his big mouth. And even to the point, he's like, you screwed me. You messed everything up. But Glenn's like, hey, you're the one that did this. You were saying all those hurtful things to me. So I think you need to apologize. And Reddington's about to say something. You actually seem a little hurt because I guess I did kind of go a little far. He didn't say it, but his kind of that look on his face. And then Glenn's like, nah, I'm just messing with you, dude. And it's just kind of like, it's moments like that, Reddington. It's like, I hate you, Glenn. I hate you so much, bro. If it weren't for the fact is that you are so useful to me. I even love that, like, Reddington, when first found out about Glenn, trying to put himself on a jury and stuff like that. Reddington was like, the judge might as well literally let me go out there and lay down in traffic and get run over or something like that. It was just like, dude, he's such an asshole because he constantly does that. He's like, he set something up and he's like, I'm just messing with you. He's like, of course I'm annoying. Annoying is kind of my thing. It's like, why do you have to be such a piece of shit, Glenn? And just like, he's like, so what's plan B? You work plan B, Glenn. Literally, Glenn was kind of like one of his last Hail Marys. Now this whole General Shiro thing, the address that he's looking for and everything, it's like, that is the end. He even admits, Reddington's like, this is the last card I have. Like, once again, I assume Liz is sad and all that, sure. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know. She doesn't, I feel like she kind of, at first I thought maybe she was a little bummed, but now it's like, you don't seem that worried. You're doing it in front of Reddington, but I don't know if you're really that concerned about him potentially getting the death penalty. I mean, it's mainly because she thinks he's not her dad. Once again, I say it, like, I could be wrong, but I'm like, that's definitely your dad. He might not be Raymond Reddington, but he's really your dad. He's not Jennifer's dad, but still, So it's going to be sad when it all comes down to this, especially when Reddington eventually finds out that you're the one who betrayed him. It's like, geez, everyone close to him, even his own daughter betrayed him. It's like, dude, I think, look, legitimate, I haven't even thought about it, but I think that's going to break Reddington because it's like, who the fuck can I trust now? Since everyone close to me betrayed me. It's like the last time he got betrayed by someone that close. Once again, it was Kate. This is a dagger that's going to cut even deeper, you know? And that's the sad aspect about this whole situation. So, I mean, we're going to see, like, what ultimately happens, but, like, this is it, you know? You've never seen, I feel like it's crazy to believe that Reddington got this backed into a corner. You know, I mean, to be fair, once again, it's like Liz is his blind spot. Interestingly, and I know. But just because, you know, he never saw her coming, like, you know, just because why would he think to look out for her in that regard, you know? So, I mean, to be fair, with what Liz has done in the past, you know, faking her death and everything, it's like, but I guess it's kind of like, no. Faking your death is one thing, and just straight up screwing me over, getting me arrested, you know, like this is another thing entirely. So I am very interested to see, like, where everything goes in that regard, because it's like, you know, we're moving into the next phases of, you know, the trial is next and everything. And even Dembe, I mean, even Seema is like, oh no, you put up all this air of confidence and stuff and being hopeful and everything, but the fact of the matter is, you're done. We both know that this is the end of you. You're a dead man walking. It's like, jeez. And Reddington didn't even have some smart retort, because he knows it's true. Even he's like, this is in game for them, dude. It's all or nothing. And I even like Reddington being like, the fact of the matter is, he's like, I'm why, you know, do spiritual advisors have to be, you know, so optimistic? So he's like, for once, I want a man of the cloth just to be like, this sucks. And then later on, he just goes like, this sucks. And he's like, honestly, I want that optimism back. Denbei ends up getting an address for Reddington, and Liz is talking about the fact is, you know everything, don't you? And he's like, yeah, I do. Because it hurts him too, because he wants Liz to know the truth. He keeps pleading with Reddington to tell her the truth, but he won't. And the reason why he won't say anything is because it's like, it's not his truth to tell. It has to come from Reddington, because if he does this without Reddington's approval, it's going to be like betraying him. So, but then in my mind, the way Liz was looking at him, I was like, you don't think, now that she knows that and everything, like, he does have all the answers, you don't think she's going to kidnap Dembe, do you? You don't think Jennifer's going to get the idea to try and kidnap Dembe? Like, I don't think that's going to go down well. They try. I mean, they probably could do it, and I don't know. Liz legitimately might be desperate enough to do it. Try and kidnap Dembe just to pump him for information. It's like, if I can't get it from Reddington, I'm going to get it from Dembe. And probably says, like, I mean, even if she wanted to, I don't think Liz could do anything to stop this now. You know, it's like, once again, it's like, it was just to get Reddington out of the way, but it's like, like I said, I don't know if this went further than she thought it would, or what, or did she not really just think it through? It's just like, I need time to figure this out, and it's like, I can't do that with Reddington out and about. So it's like, because we still don't know, like I said, how much she thought this actually through, you know, so it's kind of, I'm curious to see what Liz is going to do. Like, I'm kind of worried that she might, but we'll see. And even Harold, and, you know, that's such an interesting thing. Like, even though they have this back and forth, Harold is one of the other few people I feel like cares about, you know, Reddington. He makes it all seem like it's about the task force, but I think it's because on some weird level, after all these years, Reddington's kind of become a friend in a weird, twisted way. Like, the only person that's super adamant and against him is Wrestler. Samara's, I feel like she's very in the middle. Aram is very on his side. So the task force is kind of split, because I feel like Harold and Aram are like the only people that are 100% like Harold has his reservations, but I still feel like he heavily leans more towards Reddington's side than anybody else. Wrestler, being who he is, has always been and always will be against Reddington. But like Samara, it's hard to say, because I think, because you never hear her talk about Reddington like that. So it's just kind of, I guess for her, he's an ends to a means, and it's like, he's cool. He's always kind of treated me right. So I guess, like, that's the end of it. And, like, I think Haram looks at him as kind of a friend and stuff like that. Until he was worried a while back when he thought, like, oh, man, Mr. Reddington's going to kill me. It's like, oh, no, he's just showing me a ditch. He's not actually going to put me in it or something like that. I love that being a whole thing. So, but I do... It was kind of an interesting story he ended up telling Harold. The fact is that him and Denbei were the last ones on a sinking ship, and he actually ended up dying. He's like, I drowned. And I actually saw the other side, and he was like, it was different. And then, but before, like, he could completely cross over, Denbei had saved his life. It's like, he always saves my life. So, I think he's holding hope out for Dembe being the answer to kind of figuring this whole thing out. So it's definitely going to be crazy to see where this all takes us going forward into the next episode. Like I said, the trial is next, and it's going to be quite a show, I assume. I can't wait to see what tricks Reddington's going to try and pull out in the courtroom. Even though he says this is the last move, I'm sure there's at least some small tricks he's going to try to do with the court. It's definitely going to be interesting. I will also note too, I thought Glenn had more of a play here than he did. I thought like all the whole theatrics and stuff that he put up, I was like, oh no, I thought he was like, oh no, that was all part of the plan, this and that, because I secretly, there was someone else already there to realize was someone that I planted in the jury and stuff like that. I showed up just to kind of make things complicated, make you sweat a little bit or something like that. I thought that was what was going to go down. Maybe it secretly did, and Glenn just, but the way Glenn was talking, it's kind of like, what's next? So it's like, no, things kind of got royally screwed up. So I don't think Glenn really was thinking that well in advance. Maybe he was, I highly doubt it, but we'll have to wait and see in that regard as well. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.